Prediction season is officially here. These are my game-by-game predictions for the Florida Gators in the 2024 college football season. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. We're brought to you by our friends over at MyBookie. Guys, go to MyBookie.ag. Use promo code SECU at sign up to receive a special welcome offer on your first deposit. Again, guys, that's MyBookie.ag, promo code SECU to get your special welcome offer today. The Florida Gators take on college football's toughest schedule in what is a pivotal year for Billy Napier's tenure in Gainesville. These are my game-by-game predictions for the Florida Gators in the 2024 season as we pull up the schedule with each of my selections. And guys, things get started with a bang in week one, a massive rivalry game matchup. And guys, a game that I feel like Florida fans have deemed maybe the most important game of this 2024 schedule, which again is an absolute gauntlet. And we have heard about it all offseason long. If you're going to overachieve, if you're going to take a step forward, if you're going to reach bowl eligibility, you probably got to win this game against Miami in the Swamp. And by the way, spoiler alert, SEC Unfiltered will be on hand in the Swamp, taking in this game in person. Cannot freaking wait. Either way, though, you look at this game, guys, it is a massive game for Florida. Miami is extremely talented. I question their coaching staff. Mario Cristobal, we saw some malpractice last year, especially that Georgia Tech game, the one that Miami inexplicably lost. I think this is going to be a really fun matchup, guys. Miami a slight favorite. Again, the Swamp's going to be rocking. Is Florida going to be a great team this year? I don't know that that's the case, but this is one they desperately need. Miami's got a bunch of flashy pieces, don't get me wrong, but you're giving me Graham Mertz, the veteran quarterback, a home atmosphere. I think the defense is going to be better. I think offensively, you're going to see Eugene Wilson step up and be what Ricky Pearsall was a season ago. I think Florida comes out the gates with a bang. I think they take down Miami, get a much-needed win in week one. I think we're going to see Florida come out inspired, and I think they start this season 1-0, getting a massive win in week one. Then you have Samford week two. Guys, there's a storyline with every single one of these games on the schedule. Because you look at Samford, you're like, okay, well, it's Samford. It's a breather, right? It's no big deal. Guys, Samford put up 52 points the last time they were in the Swamp. I don't think that happens again. I think Florida gets the dub. I think it's fairly easy. But it's just interesting how there's something with every single game on this schedule. Then week three, Texas A&M comes to town. Year one of Mike Elko. Big game for both sides. I could argue this is maybe Texas A&M's most important game. Massive game for Florida. SEC opener for the Gators. I think you drop that one. Again, I don't think it's all fixed in year three of Billy Napier. I think there's still going to be some of those inconsistencies, right? I do have questions about the wear and tear of Florida, the defensive side. You were terrible on that side a year ago. I think Connor Wegman and company coming in, they've still got an immense amount of talent. Guys, the SEC is just going to beat up on each other this year. When you have a schedule like this, guys, you're going to take your licks. I think you take your lick in week three. You drop that game to Texas A&M. But I think week four, you bounce back. Listen, you go on the road. This is one folks are, for whatever reason, deeming a potential upset. They think Mississippi State can pull it off. Cowbells will be ringing. I don't see it. I think Florida gets the dub here. You go into the bye week, guys, sitting at 3-1. Not a bad place to be. I think most folks around Gainesville would take that. I think you then beat UCF, right? This is one that's being real hyped up. KJ Jefferson, the Central Florida Golden Knights. Here comes Gus Malzahn bringing his crew in. I still think Florida's got more dudes. I do. So I think a 4-1 start, guys, for the Florida Gators. Again, really ideal. This schedule's back heavy. You've got to take advantage of the front half of the schedule if you're going to have a big season, get to a bowl game, overachieve, what have you. Because I think this is where the schedule starts to show its teeth, right? The game against Tennessee, you never know. But going to Knoxville, after what happened last year, I think Tennessee's going to have revenge of the mind, and I think they're going to get it, right? I just think it's going to be too much. I think Tennessee's got too much. Florida, I know what we saw last year. I get it. But being on Rocky Top, again, revenge on the mind. If there's one game Tennessee is not going to overlook, they're going to take seriously, and they're going to win this year, it's that game against Florida. So I think you drop that game in Rocky Top. Then Kentucky. Guys, I'm higher on Kentucky than most other folks out there. I just am. And for whatever reason, Kentucky has had Florida's freaking number. It doesn't matter where the game's been played. They've just had their number. This is also homecoming for the Gators. Really interesting. Going to be an afternoon or night kick in the Swamp. I think Kentucky. Again, I'm higher on Kentucky than most others. I love that roster. I think Kentucky, realistically, guys, can be an 8 or 9 win team in the SEC this year. I think Big Blue gets the dub in that one. Then you've got the cocktail party against the Georgia Bulldogs, neutral site game. Make this rivalry great again, man. I'd love to see Florida be competitive in this game, compete for all 4 quarters. I don't know if we're quite there yet. I do think Georgia's going to get the dub in this one. You know, will Florida keep it close for a half? Sure, but I just don't think they're there yet, guys. I think the Gators dropped this one. So 3 straight losses going into 4 straight losses. The game against Texas. Again, Texas first year in the league. What they're going to be? I think they're going to be pretty damn good, right? Texas is loaded. The game is at DKR in Austin. Again, guys, it's just a brutal run of ball games here. So I think you drop 4 straight right smack dab in the middle of your schedule. Some really difficult games. Again, you'd like to think maybe the bye week against Georgia will help. I don't think it really will. And then you have that game against Texas. So again, 4 straight losses for Florida. But this is where I see the bounce back happening. This is where I think it comes in. Here come the LSU Tigers to the Swamp in a game that this has become a hell of a rivalry over the years. I mean, there's nastiness, there's hatred, there's bad blood in this one. I think Florida is going to be amped up for this game, right? I think LSU, this is going to be an afternoon or night kick in the Swamp as well. I think Ben Hill Griffin's going to be rocking. I think LSU is going to be a solid team this year, but I think they've got some holes. I think we look at the schedule, guys, and a lot of folks have talked about the logos, the schedule. I think LSU is one where we think about Jaden Daniels, LSU, and Heisman Trophy and those receivers. They're not there anymore, guys. And while I think LSU is going to be a quality football team, still going to be really good on offense, defense literally can't be worse than it was a year ago. Maybe late in the season, we see a couple injuries piling up for LSU that they can't withstand. They can't weather that. You know, I think Florida, the schedule is going to do its damage. But I think the Gators are going to be a better football team this year. I think they're going to show that in this game against LSU. I think this is going to be the one that obviously Florida desperately needs. And I think it's going to show positive signs for the future for Billy Napier and company. So I think you beat LSU before suffering back-to-back losses to close out the season. You've got the game against Ole Miss. Guys, I'm buying the Ole Miss hype. Listen, you really got jobbed, by the way, with a noon kickoff in this game. I don't know why this is a noon kick in the Swamp. But I think Ole Miss is for real. They're loaded across the board. This is going to be at minimum a double-digit win team. Doesn't mean Ole Miss is perfect. Doesn't mean Ole Miss isn't incapable of losing to Florida. Doesn't mean Florida can't win. But I do have Ole Miss right now. I'm buying the hype with the Rebels. And then at Florida State. Listen, what's Florida State going to be? Right? I mean, it's you lose so many pieces. Is DJU the right guy? I still think Florida State's ahead of you. I like what they did in the portal. And I think FSU is going to be pretty good this year. I think they're going to be right there at the top of the ACC. This is a really interesting game to keep an eye on. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion Florida State's going to win this one, but I do have FSU right now. Again, I just think they have more than Florida does. So I've got, when the dust settles, 5-7, 2-6 in conference play. And listen, guys, like, nobody wants to hear this. And I feel silly saying it, but Florida's probably going to be the best 5-7 team in the country. If they get to 6-6, they'll be the best 6-6 team in the country. Guys, if Florida goes 8-4 with this schedule, they should make the college football playoff. I will die on that hill. Florida should be a playoff team. Now, nobody in Gainesville wants to see 5-7. Nobody wants to see a losing record. But I do think it's going to bring Billy Napier back next year, with next year being the prove-it-all year, right? DJ Lagway is going to be under center, going to be his quarterback. That's where you have to emerge, win 8 or 9 games. I know you're going to have the same schedule, but flip. But at some point, you got to show something. But I don't think 5-7 gets Billy fired. I think there's going to be signs of promise, but the schedule's just brutal. And as you can see, guys, I mean, listen, A&M could very well be a win. Kentucky could be a win. Florida State could be a win. This Florida team could easily make a bowl game, could easily get to 7-5. It could happen, but right now, I've got Florida at 5-7, 2-6 in conference play. So, guys, when you look at the Florida Gators, do you agree with my predictions? Do you disagree? How do you think the Florida Gators will fare in the 2024 college football season? Guys, that's going to do all for me. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, guys, I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.